Hey everybody, welcome back. Here we are for my second video, moving into the second segment of the three that we're going to be doing here. I hope everyone's well. Today we're going to get into the segment on high performance habits and mindset. So this will lean more into like coaching practices and things that I do in my life every day, kind of like a morning routines thing, daily routine, just the setup of life. I want to say this on the front end before I like dig into this. Nothing I talk about here is like me presenting in a way that I don't want to ever present in a way like I know better than anyone, because I just don't. I don't have that belief system whatsoever. I do have things that I do that have worked for me and practices that I've learned through coaching folks that do work. But again, in no way, shape, or form, when I talk about these things, am I trying to present them as like, this is the only way for you. This is what works for me. And this is what I try to work with folks on, but it doesn't have to be that way for you. So first thing, one practice that I participate in, and it's because I'm diabetic, is fasting. And I fast for between 14 and 16 hours every day, typically 16. So my eating window is about 8 hours usually. Sometimes I'm not great about that if I eat a little bit later than I want to. Maybe I make cookies, or my wife does, and then I have one at 9 p.m. and I throw myself off a little bit the next day. But in general, I'm fasting for that long. And I bring that up because the practice of fasting for me has really forced me to kind of look at the way I utilize food as an emotional salve. The way that if I felt depressed or mad or angry or some type of negative emotion, I would use food to cope with it. And when you're fasting for an extended period of time, things will happen, situations will arise, you will feel this sense of unrest, and you don't get to mitigate that with food, and you learn how to kind of sit with it and process it in a different way. So that's important to me. Again, I really don't push that on anyone. I'm just sharing it with you guys because it's something that I do. Then something's very important for me, my sponsor espoused it to me, and I preach it to people, is this idea of having a morning routine. Now, a lot of my stuff is based around the fact that I am in long-term recovery. So the practices I engage in are built around that ideological framework, right? So for me, in the morning, when I wake up, the first things I have to do every day are pray, meditate, and read spiritual text. And I want to break down each one of those three things because I think it's important to do so. I also want to say this. Doing these things every day is where the magic happens. Being disciplined and engaging in these practices. That does not mean that I do them perfectly every day. That does not mean that I am at, if I'm ranking on a 1 to 10, then I'm at a 10 every day. And I think a lot of times in this kind of like self-help coaching space, I hear this kind of push that like, if you're not at a 10 every day, you're not doing enough. And like, there's more for you and all this. And I'm kind of I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I'm going to tell you why. The marrow of life is in allowing the magic to happen. And if I am at a 10, every minute of my day is organized. I'm going to be here at this time. I'm going to be here at this time. It's very regimented and formulaic. And I lose some of the magic, man. And a perfect example of that is this, is if I sit down with my daughter, who is a little over 2 months old at this point, and we are having a conversation, which is me talking and her, making some sounds back and smiling at me. And man, I'm not putting a timeline on when I'm going to stop doing that with her. If an alarm on my phone goes off and says, hey, Jeff, you need to be at your workout right now, I'm sorry. I'm not leaving that precious time with my daughter to go to the gym. I'll get there. So I want to say that too. This is all malleable stuff. Like, it's about engaging in the practices with discipline, regularity, not doing them perfectly all the time. Okay? So let's talk about those three things. The first one being prayer. Praying is a really, to me, praying is speaking to my higher power, to the God of my understanding. And in no way, shape, or form does that have any religious affiliation whatsoever. Everyone has their own path with that. The point is this: in the morning, I am in some way, shape, or form speaking to that God of my understanding. And some days it looks like I'm saying the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, the wisdom to know the difference. Some days that is me simply saying, God, help me be the best version of myself today. Some days it's longer conversations, deeper prayers. It just depends. And the barometer for me that I'm always looking out for at this point is, and what I'm trying to stay aware of is, is it becoming rote? In other words, is it becoming something I'm not even conscious of when I'm doing it, and I'm just doing it to do it? When I start to feel that way, because that does happen, that's when I look at possibly making a slight change. So that would be my advice to you guys. If you engage in this stuff, notice when it's becoming so routine that you're failing to get anything from it. So the second piece of it is meditation. I have gone through so many different iterations of meditation over the years, and all of them are beneficial, and all of them are, the right one for the different season of my life. Right now, I'm doing a mantra meditation. So that means I repeat this mantra 108 times with these prayer beads in the morning. Sometimes I have been more engaged in the meditative practices, and my wife and I did get trained in Vedic meditation, and that is the root of transcendental meditation. So it's sitting for 20 minutes in the morning and night, repeating this mantra, and really very different than mindfulness meditation. In Vedic, really you're allowing kind of your mind to go wherever it goes, and you're not, the goal in Vedic is to not think too deeply about any of it and just let it flow. Whereas I think in mindfulness meditation, which I've also done a significant amount of, you're trying to kind of singularly focus on something, be it, a mantra you're repeating, be it your breath in and out. You allow the thoughts to pass, but you focus on a particular piece of the practice. And sometimes that's what works for me. Again, it depends on the season of life that I'm in, and my notice to myself that I need to make a change is when I find myself not getting anything out of it, or doing it without being conscious while I'm doing it. The third piece is spiritual text. And that can be really, guys, anything. I mean, I have spent time with Taoist literature, with Christian literature, with a lot Buddhist literature, Hinduism, Judaism. I mean, there's a million spiritual paths, and there's value in all of them. I am in no position to ever tell any other human being what is right or wrong in that regard. Guess what? I don't get to do that. And let me just speak on that for 1 second. I just want to say this. We live in a universe of 200 billion galaxies. We are on a planet that is the third furthest out from a sun, and we are held orbiting that by a force called gravity. And if you were to expand out, we are on one spiral arm of one of those 200 billion galaxies. Suffice it to say, we are a grain of sand on a beach in the universe, okay? I don't get to tell another person who is the same human understanding that I do what is or isn't in the realm of spirit. it is way too expansive for me to do that. I always use the anthill analogy, right? Like if you're an ant and you're in a little ant colony and there's that little hill, right? Your entire world is there. If I were to walk over and pick up one of those ants and he could understand me and I could say, hey man, do you know how many anthills there are on this planet? And I would tell him, his mind would be blown, right? I mean, it's beyond his ability to comprehend. And that's what I think a lot about this, spiritual realm is it's often a lot of it is beyond my understanding. And so I don't make dictations to other people on what their understanding of that is. So again, I think there's a lot of really good literature in this regard, spiritual literature, obviously, but like you can even do like daily meditation books that have a different meditation every day for a full year. Whatever it is, just engaging in those practices, I think, is like super important in the morning. Another piece that's really important for me that I always tell folks is exercise, man. Lifting weights, doing cardiovascular exercise, getting out, taking a walk, physically moving our bodies is so vitally important. We are mammals, we are creatures that need to move, and we live in a world now where a lot of it is static and sitting. I think I read a statistic yesterday that the average person now sits between 4.7 and 6.2 hours a day. That's a lot of sitting. So it's super important that we get up and move our bodies, the neurochemicals that get released, everything it does for us is so positive. I think it's really, really important to do that. Another piece I will say that is again part of me being a guy in long-term recovery, but super important for me to do, is at the end of my day, kind of looking back at the day and seeing where I showed up as the guy I wanted to show up as, and where did I not show up as the guy I wanted to show up as. And both giving kudos to where I did and also taking a deeper look at the places where I didn't, and trying to seek a deeper understanding of who I am in the world. I think that helps me continue to grow. There's other things that are a part of it. I don't want to talk too long. We'll dig in as we go further along, but really for me today, expressing to you guys some basic tenets of like what my daily life looks like and what the daily life of the clients I coach looks like was important. So hope you all have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye.